Come along with me as I share a peek into my winter kitchen. There is some baking and cooking going on in this video as I share what we have been enjoying from our kitchen on these cold winter days. I will link all the recipes that I am able to share in the description box below. Be sure to subscribe to follow along on our journey as we learn homesteading skills, care for our home and family through cooking from scratch, and live intentionally as good stewards of the provisions we have been given. If you enjoy this video, please be sure to give it a like. Thanks for dropping by our wilderness home. To get things started today, I am beginning with a super easy and delicious breakfast. This is also a relatively healthy breakfast option as well. This wonderful oatmeal bake is from sallysbakingaddiction.com. I love looking through the different recipes on Sally's website, and I will certainly link this one in the description box below. An oatmeal bake is so easy because you make all of it in one bowl and then transfer it to one dish. Sometimes I am not quite so motivated to make breakfast first thing in the morning, so this is a great make-ahead breakfast item. But if I'm feeling ready to conquer the day and make a hot breakfast that isn't our usual bacon, eggs, and toast combination, I will make this oatmeal bake because it doesn't take very long to put together and bake. If I do plan on making this first thing in the morning, I will gather my ingredients in the evening before and get everything set up and ready for me to start in the morning. For this recipe, you can add whatever kind of fruit, nut, or other mix-in you prefer. I like to make ours with thin apple slices, and it is delicious. I think the combination of the cinnamon and the apple is just so comforting, especially on a cozy winter morning. What makes this recipe really easy to make as well is that it just requires a few pantry and fridge staples. I talk about my budget pantry a little bit in a video that I have, which I will link in the cards. But it's just so great to know that I can go over to my pantry and look in my fridge and I have everything I need to make a great, healthy breakfast. Next up, I am taking you along as I make one of my favorite meatball recipes. This recipe is from the website I Heart Nap Time. This recipe called for Parmesan cheese in the meatballs, and I think this is really what makes them so amazing is the addition of cheese in the meatballs. I didn't have any Parmesan this day, but I used Gouda instead, and honestly I think I could have used any cheese and it still would have tasted amazing. These meatballs are delicious, and I highly recommend this recipe. These recipes that take 1 or 2 pounds of ground beef are so quick and easy. Even if my ground beef is completely frozen, it really doesn't take too much time to thaw the meat in a bowl of water. We ended up having these meatballs with some spaghetti and some pasta sauce, of course with the addition of some more cheese on top as well. This was just a great simple dinner that I was able to cook ahead at the beginning of the day, and then when it came time for dinner, I didn't have to rush and make anything. All I had to do was just warm up our meatballs and make our spaghetti. These were so good that I really forgot to get clips of them when they were finished, so I do apologize that there is not a final result. Next up, I am making cookies. I've shared this recipe multiple times already because I love it so much, but I am linking it below as well for you to check out this time around if you haven't seen it yet. It is hands down the best, absolute best recipe for chocolate chip cookies that I have found thus far. Now, I know I haven't been homemaking for long, but this is the cookie recipe that I come back to time and time again. This time, I'm making this batch as a little treat for several of our friends. It's a sign of a good recipe when you're famous for your chocolate chip cookies and always get requests for the recipe or comments about how good they really are. Now, people like to say that they're my cookies, but I always direct them back to the I Heart Eating food blog because that is where the recipe comes from and they are just so good. Today I am using flour and sugar that I wouldn't typically use, but I am using them because I know that our friends don't really have a preference, and I happen to still have these ingredients on hand when I did some recent Christmas baking. For this particular batch, I tripled the recipe, but it's not uncommon for me to generally double the recipe. When I made a bunch of these cookies around Christmas time, I believe I had made like 12 dozen cookies or something in the span of a few days or a week or something like that. Something else I love to do is make a big batch of these cookies and go ahead and freeze them. So I would freeze them just like I am right here with placing the cookies on a baking sheet with parchment paper. I would freeze those as they are, and then after they've frozen a little bit, I would just put them into a freezer-safe bag. I recently received a 25-pound bag of organic soft white wheat from AZURE Standard. I am so excited to get to mill my own grain and start baking with whole grains very soon. I ordered my mill back in the fall, but it's been delayed twice now, so I'm hoping that I'll receive it in a couple of months and that the date doesn't change once again. But I am very eager to make this healthy change in our diets when I can mill our own wheat berries. It is so great knowing that I can source whole grains economically through AZURE Standard. As I have researched and looked around for where to buy wheat berries, I have found that AZURE Standard's prices are really the most economical, especially for organic wheat. I have a link below to the different wheat berries available through AZURE Standard, and if you're interested in cooking with whole grains and milling your own grain, I would definitely check out AZURE Standard if you have not already. If you plan on ordering from AZURE Standard because they have all kinds of other healthy options, not just grain, you can definitely use my referral link in the description box. New AZURE customers can also receive $15 off a $100 purchase when you use the code NEW15 at checkout. Thank you in advance if you do happen to use my AZURE referral link. It means a lot to me. Here I am making my bread. I really love this bread recipe. It was originally found on the back of the organic bag of flour at Costco. Since then, I have adapted it to meet our family's needs and our different health goals. I will have the recipe at the end of these clips where I am making bread if you would like to screenshot the recipe to keep and make this recipe for yourself. I really like this bread recipe because it makes 4 loaves of bread. Now, it's just my husband and I, and our baby is just now kind of eating bread, but I do like to freeze a couple of loaves. I usually do end up making bread about once a week, and those loaves that I do put into the freezer generally are used one way or another, whether it's giving them to somebody or we just happen to go through a lot of bread. It's definitely easy if I wanted to make 2 batches of this bread and have 8 loaves. If I were to double batch this, I would definitely make 2 separate batches of it because that is a lot of dough to work with. But it would be so nice to have extra bread in the freezer in case I couldn't get around to making bread for a week or 2. The more I learn about the food we eat and what is in some of it, the more I want to completely overhaul what we already have on hand and stop buying some things. However, that's just not realistic, and this is a process after all and a journey. It's just not feasible for us to buy the cleanest option of every single thing we use and consume on a day-to-day basis. However, little by little, we can choose better swaps as our budget allows. As we are in this journey of trying to eat healthier and make healthy choices for our family in the foods that we eat and the products that we buy and use, it is definitely a progression. When I say that, I like to use my bread baking as an example. It's almost where I would like it to be, but it has taken time. In the beginning, we switched from regular flour to organic flour. Now we add in some organic whole wheat flour. Next, the goal is to use freshly milled flour completely. We started with sugar, and then organic sugar. Soon, we used honey. Now, we use organic honey. When I first started making this recipe, I used vegetable oil. Then, I switched to olive oil. Now, we use organic olive oil. And next, in the future, I'd like to switch to an organic olive oil from a single source. This is a yeast bread. In time, I'd like to switch it over to sourdough. In the past, we used regular table salt in this bread, and now we use real salt. Even when I make this bread at home with the quote-unquote worst ingredients that I had, it was still healthier than the bread at the store. It was a better choice. It wasn't the best possible choice, but it was better than what we were doing. Now, our bread has better ingredients than when I first started making this bread. Is it the healthiest it can be? No, there's always room to make things better, and in this particular recipe, there is definitely room. I just shared a couple of things that I'd like to switch over in this recipe as soon as I can, as we have the resources and the opportunity to do so. We are progressing in our journey to make better choices and swaps in the food that we eat and in the products that we use. We don't do this because we want to live forever, never be sick, or hold it as some kind of crunchy badge of honor. We want to be good stewards of the items and knowledge that we have been given. It is our desire to take care of the bodies God has given us, but we also know that no matter all the right things we can do on this side of heaven, ultimately the richest, fullest life we could ever live is in heaven with our Creator. We rejoice that our hope is in Christ and not in the healthy choices we make. We desire to be good stewards in the here and now, and it is our mission to do that faithfully. I have to admit, I was intimidated to make whole chickens. And yes, Thanksgiving was also intimidating. Now, I like to pick up organic whole chickens at the grocery store when I can find them on sale or they're marked down. If they're close to their Best By date, I like to freeze them to thaw and bake later. This particular chicken I found marked down for $2.55 a pound, and it was usually $3.99 a pound. I like to save the bones in a freezer bag in the freezer to make bone broth later. This whole chicken recipe is from the Hope's Table Cookbook. I've talked about this cookbook before because I just love it so much. If you're interested in picking up a copy, I will be sure to link it below. It has so many amazing and easy recipes. I forgot to get a clip of the final result of the chicken here as well, so I do apologize about that. Here I am making a butterscotch pie. Honestly, butterscotch pie never really sounded that great to me personally, but then I learned that my husband likes butterscotch pie. So I was like, well, okay, I'll go ahead and make one for him. I think it was Thanksgiving or something that I decided to make one. Now, I have to admit, they are pretty good. We are on a journey to a healthier lifestyle, and this doesn't exactly make the cut. But this makes a list of my husband's favorite desserts, and I wanted to make it for him. This pie is a little more time consuming than something I'm used to making, and you do have to pay close attention to make the custard. So that's why I don't usually make it. It's also not very healthy, but you know, neither are cookies, and we make them sometimes. Most of the ingredients that I used for this pie were organic or relatively clean, so while it's certainly not a health food, I have some peace of mind knowing that making something like this pie from scratch is still a far better choice than buying one at the store. The cornstarch that I use does contain bioengineered food ingredients, which is something we are trying to remove from our diets, so I am looking for a swap for this. I was looking around and I did find an organic cornstarch on AZURE Standard, and I have not tried it yet, but I am definitely adding it to my next order, and I'll link it below if you're interested in trying it out with me. I will admit that I did not make this pie crust. It was a refrigerated pre-made dough and I had it left over from some holiday baking, so I wanted to be sure to use it up before it went bad. I've only actually made pie crust once before, and it was with a friend who helped me to make it. Making our own pie crust is definitely something that I would like to do moving forward so that I am not relying on store-bought dough, and I'm also avoiding some of the ingredients that are in store-bought pie crusts. This butterscotch pie recipe is from the website Saving Room for Dessert, and it will be linked below as well. Thank you so much for joining me today as I shared a glimpse at our winter kitchen and some of the things that I've been cooking and baking lately. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that like button. It really means a lot to me and it helps to grow my channel. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please do that as well, and be sure to hit that notification button to make sure that you get notified when I post a new video. Thanks so much for visiting our wilderness home.